This is the Fiat 500. It's the latest car trying to convince Americans that small cars can be interesting, frugal, and fun. Of course, it's following the lead of BMW's Mini. We needed to bring a third car, so we brought this, the Honda CR-Z. I really like chucking this car around.
This car is not going to hit all your hot buttons if you want a sporty driving machine. The Fiat 500. I've been wondering about this car.
This car's been in Europe for a few years now, and here it is, the reintroduction of the Fiat brand to America. The last time Fiat sold cars in this country, it was the Reagan era. You can get into the base Fiat for about $15,500, which is pretty affordable. This sport model like we're in starts at about $17,500, and tricked out like we're driving it, it's $18,500.
This car just feels whimsical, like the Mini did when it first came onto the market.
I have no doubt that Paul and I are going to wear out words like cute in this interview, and I'm apologizing now because I suspect we're fully going to overuse that word.
When you look at the Fiat from the front, there's no other way to describe this car, but so cute you want to pinch its cheeks.
It's like that cheerleader in high school who just thinks she'll get by in the world by just being kind of cutesy and attractive. The problem is if you don't find her cute, then there's nothing else to offer.
The language that Fiat is using is very soft, rounded shapes. This car ends up looking like a freshly baked bun.
It is a well-balanced design. That's where it starts to feel very Italian. The front and the rear go together.
The rear is not so cute. It's more like, thigh creep and women just kind of melting in the bag.
You won't ever mistake the Fiat 500 for anything else. But if you don't like the styling, a yellow version is going to make you want to sandblast your eyes.
Now you've got some nice highlight lines breaking up the body side. If you didn't do that, this car would look even taller than it is.
It's shorter and narrower than the Mini, but it's also taller.
If you ever find yourself in the middle of a street riot, just make sure you've got one of these next to you because they're so easy to push over and set on fire.
It appears a lot smaller than everything else on the road. And then you get inside and the reverse is true.
This car is surprisingly useful. For a mom and 2 kids or college students, this could actually be a great car.
Of this group, the Fiat has by far the most room for passengers. Hip room is great, shoulder room is fantastic. You and another passenger can sit in this car and be shocked by how much room there is.
There's a lot of cute and whimsical things in here. Even the speaker grills are kind of like you dropped a drop of water in a puddle.
All the buttons are very large, very well spaced, and very easy to read. You've got this huge plastic panel on the dash. It doesn't have to match the outside of your car, but it is the only thing really cutting the dark economy car black plastic that fills this interior.
The instrument cluster is very clever. You've got the tach needle on the inside of the speedometer, and then right in the center, you've got all your digital information.
There's so much going on simultaneously in this gauge that it really takes some getting used to read what you're doing. And the largest thing on that information screen is the clock. It should be the speedo.
It's a very upright driving position. I feel like I'm sitting at the kitchen table with a dinner plate for a steering wheel.
I don't know that I've ever sat this upright unless I was in a large SUV or a minivan. I want to like this car because I'm a big fan of affordable small cars that are still incredibly fun to drive. But it's best at grinding its way through stop and go. The faster you drive the Fiat 500, the more it reveals its shortcomings.
Because this wheelbase is so short, I would expect this car to handle pretty well. But the big compromise here is it's got soft suspension. So when you chuck it into a corner, it's vague.
You can drive the Fiat fast through corners, but you have to prepare yourself. You got to lock your knees off against the door and the center console and brace yourself. The car is not going to do it for you. Because you're sitting so high, there will be plenty of body roll. Find yourself in a decreasing radius corner and the Fiat's just going to keep tipping, kind of like a yacht, which makes sense because I'm sitting at a boat tiller. Here's a corner. Fiat meet corner. The wheelbase is so short that you feel everything, but unfortunately I don't mean that in a good way. When you drive along at 80 miles an hour on the freeway, this car vibrates constantly. Kind of like riding a unicycle over a washboard.
You might want to consider checking the option box for the upgraded Briggs & Stratton lawnmower engine.
It's not like you're standing still. You can do everything you need to do, but you better get very accustomed to the stick shift if you want to grind any power out of this vehicle. The engine is actually really easy to launch. In fact, it's perfect for a commuter crawl. You're going to find yourself rowing through the gears all the time in the hopes that the car somehow is going to get faster. I hate to say this, it's just not.
Now I know there's going to be the Abarth version coming out, and it should have more power, but it just feels like clown music.
Come on, little engine, you got it. You got it. There you go. It's a hill. Now there is a sport button on the dash, and Paul and I are debating what it really does.
On, off, on, off. Nothing.
It's kind of like that light switch you find in your house and you keep flicking it and it never does anything.
I'm kind of expecting something to happen. I mean, if you've got a button, you should do something, right?
Well, wait, it does actually turn on the sport light on the dash.
I cannot say I would buy this car, but if you think it's cute and you want it, fine. It's going to be a perfectly fine car. You're going to buy this car like you buy mints or you buy bubble gum. You just want it. You don't know why, but you just want it.
This is genuinely usable transportation, but it is not a sports car. It's counting on its cuteness. It's relying on the fact that it's fun to look at to convince you that it's a great car.
I had no bias today.
Is that because we didn't bring any German brands?
Well, this is kind of German light.